Excuse me, but I'll have to squeeze by you. I have the window seat. I can't wait to get there. This is actually only the second time I've flown. What about you?
Actually, I've flown quite a bit.
My boyfriend wouldn't even drive me to the airport. He always says I'm too demanding. But you would not believe what he asked me to do for him.
Probably not.
When he gets up in the morning, the first thing he says is, "I'm going to give it to you good." And when we go to bed at night, he says the same thing. This goes on night and day. Can you imagine?
Excuse me?
Excuse me? What do you mean, excuse me?
Excuse me means I don't know what to say.
Well, then say that you don't know what to say. That's not so hard.
Well, what do you say to your boyfriend?
Well, what can I say? He says, if I don't dish it out, it's bye-bye, Angie. He told me he has lots of places to put Mr. Pecker.
Well, your boyfriend certainly gets right to the point, doesn't he?
Oh, he sure does. He always has this big dramatic story in his James Bond voice about Mr. Pecker having another bad day at the office. Mr. Pecker squashed in a dark place, and it's Mr. Pecker's turn to come out and play. Poor Mr. Pecker. Here's all the action going on all around him. People going to lunch, laughing, joking, telling stories. Poor Mr. Pecker's all shut up. Nothing to do, nothing to see. That is until he gets home and gets released.
Your boyfriend has an interesting imagination.
Is that all you can say?
You know, frankly, I don't know what to say. This doesn't sound like any of my business.
Well, of course it's your business. I'm a person, a real human being just like you. You know, you look like a cause person, a do-gooder, someone who just wants to help others.
And I should take that as a compliment.
Well, you do. You can't help looking like that. So what do you do for a living?
I'm a professor at Wellesley College, and my husband Richard is the head of the physics department at Harvard, and we live in Weston.
Do you have children?
Yes, we do. We actually have two children, a boy 14 and a girl 11.
I thought so.
What do you mean you thought so?
Oh, now it's you asking me what I mean.
Yes, I just told you what I do for a living. I told you about my husband. I told you about my two children, and you're saying you thought so.
Well, I mean, you know, that hotsy-totsy teacher stuff, you and your husband, you know what I mean? So what do you teach?
English.
You know, I just saw a movie about Wellesley College. Mona something or other.
Did you like it?
I don't know. Julia Roberts plays one of these smartasses who thinks she has all the answers. I don't know. Did you see it?
Yes, I did.
Did you like it?
I was sort of I was sort of mixed about it.
How so?
Well, actually, I liked the shots of the campus, but I didn't think the movie itself was too realistic.
Oh, how come?
Well, I didn't think it was realistic. I thought it was a little far-fetched that a teacher would get so involved in her students' lives.
I guess you're right.
So anyway, when you say what your boyfriend says to you twice a day, what do you say to him?
Well, I wish you would just say, let's do it.
You certainly get right to the point.
Well, what about you and your head of the department husband? After all, he must know how to say it right. He is a Harvard professor.
He hardly says anything at all. Actually, he says hardly anything.
Why not?
Well, he's screwing one of his students, and he's actually having a long-time affair with one of his colleagues, a real bitch.
He sounds pretty active for a teacher.
I guess.
So what about you?
Well, what about me?
Well, you're a pretty woman. You're not so old. Don't you need to get a little?
Well, if you're asking me if I need a little bit of attention, I do, and I'm horny as hell.
So what are you doing about it?
Well, there's not much I can do about it.
Well, you know that movie, Mona...
Yes, Mona Lisa smiles.
I think the real point is, men are nothing but a bunch of pricks, and we should never, ever take them seriously or marry the bastards.
I know, but we do. Well, at least I did.
We should trade. You sleep with my boyfriend for a week, he'll never know the difference, and I'll go live with your husband and cut his balls off.
Sounds like a plan.
I don't know how I get into these crazy relationships. They always seem so good in the beginning.
I know. I know what you mean. But let's get back to cutting Richard's balls off.
Well, you know, if I did do it, you'd never get it at all. Unless, of course, you divorced him for having no balls, which I'm sure you could win in court.
You know, sex. It's so overrated. You know, you climax and then you fall asleep when you could have just fallen asleep anyway.
You know,
It's no big deal.
when I first sat down next to you, I thought you were rather stuck up. But I didn't care. I mean, I had to tell somebody. Talk to someone, you know what I mean? So, what are you reading?
Oh, it's called Sisters and Some Brothers.
What's it about?
Well, it's about the 11,000th book, written on the impossibility of men and women getting along. You know the theory. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Who wrote it?
Actually, a friend of mine who teaches at Wellesley, she wrote it.
Oh, and what does she teach?
Sociology.
Well, she should know. What does she say about it?
Well, actually, I started reading the book until I got interrupted, but so far, I think her point is that we're not so different after all. You know, men and women, we can work it out. We can work it, you know the song?
Bullshit. Bullshit. I mean, oh, look at us. I mean, look at my arms. Almost no hair. My boyfriend has so much hair in there, you could almost lose something in there. I'm telling you, we're not even a little bit alike. Everything I like, he hates. And everything he likes, I try to like, but I hate. I'm telling you, your friend does not know what she's talking about.
Well, I just started the book.
Well, stop reading it right now before you waste any more of your time. Now I'm glad I interrupted your reading. That book could be a very bad influence on you.
How so?
Well, it sounds like it's going to blame you for your husband being a putz.